What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Rec Room. It's your boy Tony the Brick Whisperer coming at you, and here we go with some Disney sets for Mrs. Brick Whisperer. The usual disclaimer: Lego has not given me anything. Bricks and Minifigs Avondale has not given me anything. All of this comes from the collection of Mrs. Brick Whisperer that either she or myself have bought, and so we are going to dive in. So, my wife, Mrs. Brick Whisperer, loves a lot of the cutesy little Disney characters. So we're going to be knocking out a few of them along with something else here at the end of this video. So let's get rocking and rolling. Where do you go? Okay. So the first thing that we are going to make, it's not necessarily a Lego set. Truth be told, I have no idea how Bricks and Minifigs Avondale picked this one up. They found it, they loved it, and because of trademark and copyright and all that other fun jazz, it had to be renamed. But come on, we all know who this guy is. While the thing does say Blocky, and the glare from that ring light, holy smokes. So yes, it says Blocky, but obviously it's a brick-built Wally. And at the time when Bricks and Minifigs Avondale carried him, he was selling for 18 bucks. 18 bucks for this little set might be much, but you got to keep in mind that a lot of these people, a lot of these secondhand resellers that design their own stuff and then turn around and sell it. They put in the hard work to create the instructions. They put in the hard work in designing. They put in the work in acquiring all of the parts for these sets. So that's why the price. They bought the parts. Well, they've got to make money themselves. So I understand. So a rather quick build, and you'll see why here in just a few. So let's get rocking and rolling. Here we go. So as you see, just a very small, just a whole bunch of tiny little parts, very small set. I think all in all, this might have taken me only like 2 or 3 minutes to build. Tiny, tiny set. Not without its challenges. There are some parts where, let's face it, I got some pretty big hands, and you can just see that my hands are just dwarfing this little set. But because he's a tiny little Wally, and Mrs. Brick Whisperer loves Wally, why not? She likes the little cutesy stuff. Put the tiny little plant in his hand. The tiny little treads. So trying to get everything to line up perfectly was kind of a challenge, but all in all, not too bad. So there he is. That is it. Like I said, not very many parts. Let's see here. There are maybe 30 pieces to this, if that. So yeah, he is very, very small. So just a few minutes. For you, it was just a couple of seconds. Real quick. Now, to get an idea as to just how big he is, I'm trying to find something that I can use as a reference, aside from my big old hands, because unless you know me personally, you really can't tell. But this is it. This tiny little thing. He is. I made a one of those, what do they call, infinity cubes, where you can, like almost like a fidget spinner type deal. My fidget cube is bigger than he is. Let that sink in. So yeah, very, very tiny. Now another, like I said, she loves all those little cutesy things. She loves some of the Disney characters that they make her giggle like crazy. It's great. So our next set that we're going to be building will be, boom, set number 43226, the Disney Duos. This set originally released on the 1st of June of 2023 with a recommended retail price of $45, and it later retired the 31st of December of 2024. So this set was this one's a fun one. I'm finally out of the repetition of the botanicals, thankfully. But then again, maybe not, because I know more botanicals are coming. So doing these little duos, I got out of the repetition for just a bit, and we get to have a little fun, get to see some of the personality that comes out in these little characters. So I personally, I liked these little sets. I know that there are some characters that Mrs. Brick Whisperer was kind of like, she was indifferent, didn't care one way or the other. The rest of them, oh, she absolutely loved. She really wanted them. So I made it happen. So let's dive in and get these guys made. So here we go. All right, so this was a set that we previously had. When we were moving from the house that you saw in the first couple of episodes, we took everything apart, and as you'll see as we get to building all the duos, some of these parts were not completely taken apart, but that's okay. In fact, if I am not mistaken, Mrs. Brick Whisperer was given the task of taking this one apart, and she kind of took it apart in chunks. But like I said, that's okay. So here we are with our very first duo from Beauty and the Beast. We are building Lumiere and Cogsworth. Most certainly the comedic relief of Beauty and the Beast. So as I have been playing around with my video editing software, we're looking at this right here. I had filmed this in real time, but I increased the speed, and it does look smooth. Am I going to do this with some of the bigger sets where it's extremely choppy, as you will see later? Not real sure. Maybe we'll give it a shot on a big set that we know is going to take a while. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So that little piece that's sitting just to the right of Lumiere, however you say his name, is a piece that I had found when I was going through bulk one day, digging through the bulk tables of Bricks and Minifigs Avondale. Found it, put it in my cup, bought it, because I knew it would be a pretty good addition. And basically it is a little 1x2x2 clear panel that has the rose from Beauty and the Beast. So I thought it would make a good addition to this little duo's part for this set. Now, one of the things I liked about the build on Cogsworth is he has a little key on his back, like one of those wind-up keys, and it actually controls the pendulum in his chest. So I thought that one was pretty cool. Great attention to detail, gents. Very good. So, like the brickheads, we'll go ahead and get the base put together. Before we move on to the next group. Who is going to be from the movie Pocahontas. Now, you'll have to forgive me, because right off the top of my head, I know that the pug's name was Percy. I remember that. I'm trying to remember the raccoon's name. I think his name was Miko. And I just got hollered at from across the house while Mrs. Brick Whisperer is in the living room, confirming that the raccoon's name is Miko. I am almost willing to bet that if she was not currently working, I wonder if she would ever come sit in here and correct me on my video making and my commentary skills. So in the past, you've heard me comment on some of the sets, like with the previous one where we had done Eeyore, I had said that Lego had missed an opportunity, um, and I believe I've said that with a few others. Here, I believe they missed an opportunity. I have not done anything to rectify this. Maybe in the future, but I'm curious why they did not add the little hummingbird flick. Is it flick or flit? The hummingbird from Pocahontas. Flit with a T. Okay. And I have absolutely no idea what the heck that noise just was. So let's just continue on building Meeko. So this particular duo, this particular pair, I was not as impressed or not as excited with these guys. Now, granted, I haven't seen Pocahontas since I was a teenager. It's been a while. Flit, I like him. Very memorable character. I mean, I remember these guys as well. I don't know. Me personally, I wasn't the biggest fan of these guys. But, it is what it is. And yet, again, you see me using the Lego Builder app to get this thing built. Instructions are somewhere, I'm sure. Probably in that big bin of instructions I had told you about. One day. One day. One day I'll get those instructions out and do my thing. So there were a couple of things that I did find interesting with putting together Percy here, and it was pretty much just the what's the phrasing I want to use for this guy? The snootiness of him. He knows he comes from money, and he's just leave me alone, you dirty raccoon. And so the way that they made this and positioned him and so forth, that I'll give them props on. And I thought the printed eyes for Percy was good. I think that they could have gone with the printed muzzle instead of having it be a sticker. But, whatever. And there is Meeko and Percy. Now, a couple of my favorites as we jump in right here. As we jump into from Moana, we have Heihei and what's the pig's name? Pua. I don't ever call him Pua, or however you're supposed to say it. I call him by the same name that Maui calls him in Moana 2, Boat Snack. When he called him that, I lost it. I thought that was the funniest thing. So from here on out, I call him Boat Snack. and we'll get a little bit more into Hey Hey in a little while. But I liked what they did with Hey Hey with the oversized eyes, with the pinpointed pupils, the sunflower seed there in his beak. I thought he was very well designed. And now we move on to Boat Snack. Now, Boat Snack, this one I liked because, like some of the previous Brickheads I had done, they made him to look as, he's sitting. I think they did a pretty good job in how it looks with him just sitting there, waiting for the barbecue. Mrs. Brick Whisper just shot me a look and is over here shaking her head. I love it. I thought they did a pretty good job with the ears. Again, with the stickers, it's alright though. Alright, so let's get this base knocked out and then move on to the final duo. The final duo being Nemo and Squirt. Now, Finding Nemo has always had a spot for in my heart because this was my son's favorite movie growing up. We had to watch this every day for almost a year. So when my son was little, I'd say around 4 years old, he would always watch this, and you know how some parents have that special little something with their child or whatever. For me and my son, it was our little thing right before bed every night. We did the Crush and Squirt. Give me some Finn, Noggin, dude, and we did that for years. So putting this set together, it brought some memories back. Now I really liked that printed shell. You usually find that particular piece on some of the large buildable figs, like they did for Star Wars and DC. You know, repurposing it with that print to be Squirt shell. Very well done, team. Very well done. And just like from the movies, there you see Squirt's oversized flippers, oversized eyes for that little head. Which I don't know if you could hear her from the living room. She just hollered, which is what makes him so cute. Apparently, my voice is not going to allow me to do the extreme high pitch that she can achieve. Sometimes it's funny when I sit here and I make these videos and she is in the back just listening to me and she just starts cracking up. Makes me want to crack more jokes about her. And just like any clownfish, you got to make sure it has that white stripe. I I think that was another big thing that drew my son and I together when it came to Finding Nemo and the clownfish. Because when I was in Egypt, I got my scuba certification. Saw tons of clownfish when I was diving in the Red Sea when I was stationed in Egypt. And I would tell him, and he just absolutely loved it. So I think that was another reason why he loved that movie so much, was because he knew that I was a scuba diver looking at fish like Nemo and Dory. And another great thing about this particular build was how they did his lucky fin. Oh, there I go dropping parts again. All right, let's get the bases completely finished, built. As you can see, they weren't before. As soon as we get them on, then we can start the parade of duos. So we kind of did something different with the turntable. You'll see momentarily. And there we have Lumiere and Cogsworth. And there's that Rose I was telling you about. And there's Meeko trying to give Percy the cracker or the biscuit or whatever you want to call it. Then you got Boat Snack and Hey Hey. And Squirt and Nemo. So I did something a little different with the lighting. I think it looks a whole lot better. Let me know what you think. So all in all, fun build. So let's see here. For Cogsworth and Lumiere, it took me about 10 minutes combined for both of them. Very, very simple build. Then we have, coming up next, we have Percy and Meeko. They were the long ones. That one took me 16 minutes. I know, really, really long time. So it's a good thing I didn't do this all in real time, huh? Next, Boat Snack and Hey Hey took me another 10. And then Squirt and Nemo took me 13. So a fun little build. Not quite sure where Mrs. Brick Whisperer is going to put everybody in her office for sure. But hey, we'll get there when we get there. I think one of these days when I get closer to building all of her stuff, I will have to take a final this is what she did with her office picture and let y'all see what it was that she did. Now, this next set, when I heard that they were coming out with this one, I got excited. Simply because I thought it was a really cool looking set. But on top of that, the actor that portrayed this particular character, I have been a big, big fan for quite some time. So, let's see if we can have a little fun with this. But we'll see. Alright, so, the actor that portrayed this particular character, he was in Frozen. He played the Duke of Weselton, which was comical because the Duke of Weselton got teased for being the Duke of Weaselton, which led into his next character from Zootopia, Duke Weaselton. Pretty comical little acknowledgement there. Now, one of my favorite characters, he portrayed K2SO from Star Wars Rogue One, as well as the TV series Andor. He was in one of my favorite TV series of all time, Firefly, as the pilot Wash. But I got my first bit of him as he played Watt from A Knight's Tale. We're talking about Mr. Alan Tudyk, great actor, love just about everything that he has been in. I've always found this guy to be extremely comical, and for this particular movie was no exception. He is absolutely brilliant when he comes to playing Hey Hey. Set number 43272. This set originally released just a couple of months ago of again February or March. Heck, he might even release on the first of the year. And he went for a retail price of $40. So hey, if this video ever gets to Mr. Alan Tudyk, dude, I'm a big fan. So this was a lot of fun. The colors that they chose to use in this set just pop. They really outdid themselves with this one. And there's not very many sets that get put together portraying a character where you see the personality of that character. This is one of them. So let's have a little fun and let's dive head first, just like hey, into some mischief. Here we go. All right, let's get these parts organized. As you can see, now we're doing the actual time-lapse style from the camera. So this one's going to go fairly quickly. So like I was saying, those colors just made this thing pop. You got some medium azure, blue, dark blue. You've got yellow, bright light orange, orange, red. They went crazy with these colors. And when I dove into this bag, it was crucial that I had to have them separated because up close we sit here and we look at it and we can see some of the differences, but what you're not seeing on this camera is the differences between yellow and bright light orange. It's a very subtle change. Same with orange and the reddish orange. So putting his head together, I had to have him look at the camera while doing this, but what was funny was every time I moved him just slightly, his head almost bobbles, just a little bit. It's noticeable, but it is there. So the base, I'm not going to lie, the base kind of gave me some problems because I was not completely paying attention to one part, and I don't remember what drew my attention away from it, and it's coming up right here. So I'm putting together the sides of it. And I completely missed some of the parts. So as I'm building this, these things are not staying on. So you see me struggling. And it wasn't until I had pretty much gotten the whole thing done and I realized I had 4 pieces left. I'm like, oh, I know where you're supposed to go. Now, come on. You cannot tell me that this build does not have the personality of Hey. Now, with as soft as that turntable moves, you can't see that little Hey head bobble. Trust me, it's there. Go out, pick one up, put it together. You will see it for yourself, I promise. And so there is Hey, one of the few Lego builds that, in my opinion, really captures the personality of the actual character. Hey for sure captures that personality. Later on, you'll see me build one for Star Wars. That would be the BD-1 character from the video game Fallen Order, or Jedi Fallen Order, excuse me. But the simple fact that it can capture the character, I'm thrilled. So, I had discussed in my previous video about how I really wanted to get all these brickheads made for Mrs. Brick Whisperer, and that just was not in the cards because I had ordered a brickhead set and it took more than a month to get to me. Was not very pleased with that, but what can you do? So instead, when we finally got that video made, I had grown a little impatient, and decided to get the video made. No kidding. It was either later the day that I posted the video, or it was the next day, and guess what showed up? You guessed it. Boom! The other brickhead set that I wanted to get made for Mrs. Brick Whisper, set number 40559, the Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. This set originally released on the 1st of February of 2022 at the recommended retail price of $20, and it retired at the end of the year, the 31st of December of 2022. So it did not have a very long runtime. A fun little build, and for the time being, this should close out Mrs. Brick Whisperer's Brickheads for the time being. So, let's dive in. Here we go. Alright, let's cut open the box. Let's dump out its contents. Now, maybe it's just me, but you see how the instruction books there are all folded up? Am I the only one that hates that? Because sometimes the way that the pages are folded, there is no way of fixing it. Then you end up having pages get turned on you, and it's just a headache, in my opinion, for everyone. And I know with some of the bigger sets that LEGO has released, they have started to put them in a cellophane sleeve with a piece of cardboard that keeps the instruction books flat. I know on some of the even bigger sets, it comes in its own little cardboard envelope. And, you know, outstanding things. But it's when it's these little sets. They just drive me crazy. That's just me, my personal opinion. And again, you've heard me say it a million times, those little pink 2x2 bricks that the designers had put in there to be the Brickhead's brains. I just think, and I will always say it, I just think that those are a very fun little detail that they put in. Now, there is a rumor as to why those little pink bricks are there. I've heard a couple of them. One was it was simply a challenge. Let's see who can, get a pink brick put into every build. Another rumor I heard was a designer had really wanted the job, and so they said, look, if you really want the job, show us that you could put a pink brick into everything that you design. And they did. So, well done on accomplishing that task that was set before you. So let's get Wile E. Coyote knocked out. Now, in my opinion, there's been some brickheads where they've had accessories, whether it's some of the Star Wars brickheads, they've had their lightsabers, or they've had a blaster with them. You've had some of the holiday brickheads where it was something that went along that holiday, whether it was a box of chocolates, flowers for Valentine's Day. If I am not mistaken, there are brickheads for Easter that had an accessory or two. In my opinion, Wile E. Coyote here could have had either A, an anvil, or B, a sign that simply read Free Birdseed. I thought that would have gone great for him. So I like how they did his ears, because you get slight movement, so you can kind of pose them just a little bit. Now on to the Roadrunner. Now Wile E. Coyote took me 9 minutes to make. It will take me 7 with the Roadrunner here. So, let's get this guy knocked out. We'll organize as I go. Now, I grew up watching Roadrunner and Wile E. Coyote. Some of my favorite pairs, if you will, that are always the one's trying to come up with the craziest ways of catching the other. Look at how many years Wile E. Coyote has chased after the Roadrunner, hoping to eat him, and never did. How is it that Wile E. Coyote never starved to death? But fun animal fact, here you go. You ready for this? Roadrunners are actually significantly slower than coyotes. Who would have thought that? So a fun little build. The tail feathers on the Roadrunner, how when the Roadrunner's standing straight up, his tail feathers are straight up. I think that was a fun little detail that they had added in along with the feathers on top of his head. If you've ever noticed, when the Roadrunner comes to a stop, boop, head feathers, tail feathers, they just point straight up. A fun little detail. So let's get him put on his base and be done. And there they are. So a couple more brickheads to add to Mrs. Brick Whisperer's collection. I know for a fact that there are 3 more that she really wants, but we'll see just how many more she can get added. And so there you have it. Another video knocked out. I've got today off. I've got tomorrow off. Who knows what kind of trouble I'm going to get into. Maybe I'll get started on the next video. Maybe I'll get some more organizing done here in the rec room. Maybe I'll get some relaxing in. Who knows? I'll figure it out. But one thing is for sure. I want to thank each and every one of you for watching. So make sure you hit that like, subscribe, and share this with your friends, share this with your family, and share this with anybody you know that loves Lego. But before I go, I would be remiss if I did not throw out there that this coming Sunday is the biggest Sunday for Bricks and Minifigs Avondale. So be sure to come by and see us, because it will be Star Wars Day. And it's going to be big. Okay? So be sure to stop by, come see us. There's going to be costumes, prizes, scavenger hunts. There's going to be a whole thing. So come by and see us. So with all of that being said, let me hear you all loud and proud as we say, I will see you when I see you. Y'all have yourselves a great day.